The Mid Range Narcissist. 5 facts. I have come across these 5 questions on a number of occasions. They are often regarded as the 5 fundamental queries which are raised about our behavior. They are usually answered in a forthright manner by certain commentators in order to drive the message home. However, these observations and answers are provided by people who are not of our kind. They are naturally entitled to comment, but the true value arises from someone who is on the other side of the fence, the perpetrator of the actions, the doer. Furthermore, the usual observations are provided without regard to the fact that narcissists are both similar yet different, because we operate in certain schools, which are linked to our degree of functioning and malign outlook. Accordingly, the traditional answer provided to one of these questions may be correct for the greater of our kind, but not for the mid-range or for the lesser narcissist. This time, the focus falls on those narcissists which are from the mid-range school. It is usually the case that those who are mid-range are not so much defined by what they are, but rather by what they are not. Thus, if a behavior which accords with a lesser narcissist is absent, and a behavior which accords with a greater narcissist is absent, but the individual still displays behavior which accords with narcissism as a whole, this person falls within the mid-range. The mid-range narcissist is neither a creature of complete knee-jerk reactions, nor is he or she fully aware of what he or she is and the capabilities that he or she may possess. Here are 5 facts concerning the mid-range narcissist. Number 1. Does the mid-range narcissist know what he or she is doing? Whereas the lesser narcissist operates through instinctive responses and in a knee-jerk manner, the mid-ranger knows what he or she is doing. They notice that they feel a sense of unease and feel unsettled. This is when their fuel levels have dropped to a low level. They do not know that the sensation of unease is linked to the reduced fuel levels. The mid-ranger does know that provoking reactions in a person who is his or her primary source and other people causes the unease to diminish and vanish. He or she is aware of the link between the need to receive attention and the reduction in the state of unease. He or she realizes that certain reactions do not always work, for example, unemotional ones, and that some reactions are superior to others. The sense of unease vanishes quicker and is replaced with a feeling of power, but they do not know why that is. They do not realize that the index of fuel supply governs their own state of power or unease. They do know that if they are praised, they feel considerably better. If you are made to cry, they feel considerably better. And if you are losing your temper because of something they have done, then again, they feel better. 2. Does the mid-range narcissist know that he or she is hurting you? Akin to the lesser, the mid-range is aware of the hurt that is being caused. The mid-ranger will also give some consideration to how this might be achieved, whereas the lesser just does it. The mid-ranger does not behave this way because of any innate malevolence, but rather because he or she is aware that the evidence of pain on your part gives them a good feeling and lessens the unease which may appear. The mid-ranger knows that if he or she acts in a certain way, it will cause you upset, and therefore he or she will take some time to evaluate how best to respond in a situation, so that the good feeling can be obtained. The mid-ranger will be aware of what it is that you are doing, which has generated contempt, irritation, or annoyance. He will be able to provide you with a reason behind this sensation, and moreover, if there is no actual reason, he is readily able to invent one. Whereas the lesser can only usually respond in a vague and amorphous fashion, the mid-ranger will provide you with a reason for this annoyance at your behavior, and why he or she is hurting you. It is most likely a lie, but a reason will be provided nevertheless. 3. Does the mid-ranger do this deliberately? The mid-ranger is deliberate in his or her behaviours. There is some instinctive reactions, nowhere near as to the extent that there is with the lesser, but there is a degree of calculation with the mid-ranger as well. They do not know that it is fuel that they crave, they do not know its true purpose, but the mid-ranger is sufficiently aware and of sufficient function to link the provision of certain reactions by you to the settling and empowering effect it has on them. The mid-ranger is aware that he or she can provoke good and bad emotions from you, that these reactions serve a purpose, and therefore they will apply some time and effort to ascertaining the best way of doing this. They are also able to apply a wider range of manipulations from their repertoire as a consequence of their increased function. The response will be thought out, and whilst the plotting and scheming is far removed from the grand scale of the greater narcissists, there is no doubting that the mid-ranger will plan. He or she will consider how people can best serve them. This is not done from a malicious point of view, but is more about working out what will serve him or her the best. The mid-ranger will consider which friends serve him best, who will make the best target, and how the various people that are his fuel lines knit together. He does not behave in the random and chaotic fashion of the lesser, nor with the pinpoint malicious accuracy of the greater, but with a sense of organization and planning, so that he or she gets what he or she wants. 4. Can the mid-ranger control this behavior? The mid-range narcissist is possessed of the ability to control his or her behavior. Since he or she is not primarily a creature of instinct like the lesser narcissist, but adopts a blended approach of instinct and a considered approach, there is greater thought given to how he or she should respond. The mid-ranger is not aware of why they ought to behave in this way. They only know that there is a way of behaving which suits them best, and they need to tailor their responses and behaviors to accord with this way, and this includes control. The mid-ranger only has so much control that in situations where fuel levels plummet, and there is a real or perceived threat of the primary source cessation, then the mid-ranger will lose control when placed under such duress. This may manifest in the use of physical violence. The mid-ranger knows there will be consequences, but is unable to contain the urgent need to do something, and therefore control is lost. The mid-ranger, however, is particularly prone to using the silent treatment, as this represents a halfway house between exerting and losing control. Passive-aggressive manipulations are the hallmark of the mid-range narcissist. He or she may be panicked into a sudden reaction, but they do not lose control to such an extent that a frenzied response by way of violence, both physical and verbal, may appear. Instead, the mid-range vanishes. The mid-ranger is also more likely to engage in emotional, financial, and sexual abuse through planning, and the greater subtleties and insidious nature attached to those particular machinations. 5. Can the mid-ranger stop it? Yes, the mid-ranger can. He has an awareness, and therefore is able to decide that the behavior can stop. Indeed, where the mid-ranger perceives an advantage to be required, he will do so and amend his behavior accordingly. Whereas the lesser narcissist will instigate a respite period instinctively, without knowing why he is doing it, his need to devalue will just abate, and the golden period returns. The mid-ranger knows the value of a respite period, and will grant it, because he feels settled and prone to wanting the contrast of the positive fuel again. Similarly, when those fuel levels drop, the mid-ranger knows to commence the devaluation again. His awareness and control enable him or her to stop the devaluing behavior as and when it is required. He does not exercise this with regard to any sense of malevolence like the greater, but rather it is driven by need. The mid-ranger could stop his or her abusive behavior, but will not do so if they perceive a need for it to continue. The lesser is unable to stop because it just happens. Of the three schools, the mid-ranger is less volatile, less malicious, but in some respects can be regarded as entirely culpable for the behaviors, which are engaged in and that are doled out to his or her victim.